I like rosé very much. Thank you for opening a bottle that I will actually be able to handle in the middle of the day.
And enjoy.
And enjoy. This is not the evening. So yeah, day drinking, yay.
I mean, I think everybody should be happy to know that their deputy mayor knows how to have a glass of wine in the afternoon. I would assume.
I'm not sure that's a criteria for getting re-elected. Well, people ask, are you a feminist? And I said, no, my mother told me to be a female supremacist.
Hi, welcome to Wine with Adam. I'm your host, Adam Scott Bellos, and today we are sitting in the Menachem Begin Center outside of the old city of Jerusalem, where we've started doing a lot of our filming. And I'm here with my very special guest today, Fleur Hassan-Nahoum.
Thank you.
Fleur, you're a daughter, a mother, a wife. You're the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. You've held how many different portfolios in the city? Transportation, foreign relations.
Heritage, tourism, economic development.
Unbelievable. And how many languages do you speak?
Well, that's a good question. I'm bilingual in English and Spanish.
Okay.
These are my languages. Then I used to speak French, really good French.
So how many languages do you know how to say l'chaim?
3.5.
Okay, fine.
Oh, l'chaim in every language is when there's a drink.
There you go. So today, for this episode, because we're sitting with the Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem, we are drinking the Gush Etzion rosé. It's Grenache, Mourvedre, and Syrah. It comes from the Jerusalem Hills, right outside of your municipality.
Amazing.
And in my opinion, it is one of the best rosés in Israel.
Ooh.
For a hot, afternoon, or whenever you want to hang out with your girlfriends.
Yes. I love rosé, actually. It's very versatile, and it's nice in the heat, and it's nice in summer, and it's light.
L'chaim. Tell me what you smell, tell me what you taste.
Light.
Yeah. So, I would like to talk about your family a little bit, because from what I've read, and I haven't heard you speak about it a lot, is that your dad was this very big influence on you. And from what I understand, what he accomplished somewhat led you to Jerusalem and somewhat led you to making Aliyah.
Sure.
Tell me about it.
So my father was the biggest probably influence in my life, in terms of my career, of course, in terms of being his daughter. I was born when he was the chief minister of Gibraltar, which is like prime minister. And my father basically was the guy who led a movement to take Gibraltar from being a colony in every sense of the word, zero rule, autonomy, nothing from the British, to understanding that Gibraltar had to remain British, but they wanted as much autonomy as possible under that tent of being British. And so that was his first kind of taste of being an advocate and being a leader. So they got a city council, and my father was the first mayor of Gibraltar. He was only 30.
So I would assume you learned a lot about good governance from your dad.
Well, my father basically ushered in democracy to Gibraltar. And
it's not a small thing.
No, it's a huge thing. It's a small place,
right,
but it's a huge thing. And I think what I learned from my father, first of all, he was very pragmatic and he was very moderate. So the British loved him because they could do business with him. He was also a very kind man who was very modest. So my father, didn't think he was, more special than anybody else. And that's how we lived. He didn't want a government home, like he didn't want a chief minister's residence. And so for me, I have a very high standard to what a politician should be. Mm-hmm. And that standard is my father, who was kind, who spoke to everybody, who treated everybody the same. The Queen of England and the guy on the street stopping him for some advice. And that is something you don't see anymore. But that is my role model for what a leader should be. Somebody who lives amongst the people, who doesn't see himself or herself better than anybody else, and who's got the courage to lead in the right direction, whether it's popular or whether it isn't, for the good of his or her people.
It's just funny because you're describing your father, but I'm thinking about you and your reputation in Jerusalem.
It's my role model.
And it's really funny.
I aim to be half the leader my father
But I mean, one of the things that I think is most fascinating about what you've achieved in the last couple of years is that you've become very accessible to people.
Well, I am accessible.
Right.
I've always been accessible. It's just that now people need me more.
Right. But one of the things that I thought was really interesting that I was reading about you, because it's always funny when you know somebody and then you learn something new about them that you didn't know, is that there were people calling you too left wing to be running with Zev Elkin. And
and then the other side, you're calling me too
right wing, and I'm thinking to myself, like, not only are you, I mean, like, I've always seen you as center right, but you're pragmatic. So where did that come from, and how did that happen?
In politics, there's always going to be people attacking you. That's just the nature
Right.
of the game. And if I was so hypersensitive, if you are hypersensitive, this is not the profession for you.
Yeah.
That's just the journey, and it's the nature of the game. And I'm still a sensitive person, but you learn to kind of toughen yourself up and understand that this game, the further you go, the more detractors you're going to have. And in fact, I take a lot of inspiration from Churchill, who once said, you know, if somebody hates you, good, you did something in your life. And I think the secret is, and this I really learned from my father, is, you know, if you have your truth and you're doing something from a good place and you know that you're going to be helping people, then you just have to kind of shake off the detractors.
For sure.
And just move forward and don't let it get to you too much. It is the nature of the game.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think has been, like, not only like the greatest accomplishment you've had in your tenure as deputy mayor?
I think over the last 8 years, I'm very proud to have been part of a movement in Jerusalem to make it the capital of the startup nation. In other words, 8 years ago, nobody spoke about an innovation ecosystem in Jerusalem, and I was part of a founding team of people who set up a nonprofit with the only purpose was to advance Jerusalem as an ecosystem, as an innovation ecosystem, to encourage high-tech here, to keep the young people here, and to keep Jerusalem ahead as the capital city of the state of Israel. And so I'm very proud to have been part of this movement, and now today I'm proud to be doing the same thing with East Jerusalem.
Right.
For the Arabs of East Jerusalem. Well, one of the projects within what we're doing, something that the mayor is leading, is to create a high-tech park in East Jerusalem called Silicon Valley. And I'm bringing investment from outside the country to try and push forward this. I'm a big believer in peace and coexistence through economic development. And I think one of the changes, and it is connected to the Abraham Accords, because I think what we're seeing is, in general, a normalization between Arabs and Jews. The ones in the country, the ones in the city, and the ones in the region. It's part of the same story. And the story is that the realization that we're not going anywhere. We're an economic superpower, and we really are inclusive. And we want to bring prosperity to everybody in the country, not just Jews. We're not, you know, a discriminatory state. I'm not saying there's no things to improve.
And you're sitting in, you know, the second highest chair in the city that has, it's the most diverse city in the country.
We're the largest Arab city in the country.
Right.
And we're the largest ultra-Orthodox city in the country.
Right.
People don't understand, Jerusalem is the largest city in the country by a lot. We're 1 million people almost. The next largest city is Tel Aviv with 500,000 people.
Right.
So we're huge.
Yeah.
We're 11% of the Israeli population. And like I said,
What? Wait.
we're
11%?
Yes.
That's how big Jerusalem is?
Yes.
It's more than 10% of the country?
Yes. We're 11% of the country.
And what's the Arab population here? Oh, it's over 330,000.
It's 38% of the city.
Wow. I mean, so it would make sense that investing and developing the younger high-tech sector for Arab
Look,
Israelis as well. I mean, that's...
For me, it's about human capital. Okay? And the country as a startup nation.
Define what you mean by human capital.
People.
Yeah.
And people reaching their potential. I'm a very big believer.
Wait, I have to stop you because all I'm thinking about now is your dad. Because, I mean, like, it's just very interesting that that's your thing, human potential.
Yes.
And what your father did was allow people to reach their fullest potential in terms of their identity.
My family's been in Gibraltar for 300 plus
Wow.
years. Before that, we lived in Muslim Spain in peace with Muslims. My family, my mother's family come from Tangiers, Morocco. My family in Tangiers, Morocco are partners with Muslims in business. I know what shared society looks like. I've seen it. I've seen my father fight not just for the people who support him, but for his detractors. My father told me one thing, which is very hard for me to do, but I think about it all the time. He said, when somebody does you wrong, repay it with good.
So where do you see the city of Jerusalem in 2048?
Good question. Well, first of all, the city of Jerusalem is a microcosm of the future state of Israel. What do I mean by that? So the demography of the state of Israel today is, in terms of its minorities, is about 12-13% ultra-Orthodox Jews, Haredim, and about 20% Arabs. In Jerusalem, it's double. So we have 25% ultra-Orthodox and about 38%, 40% Arab. Which means that the challenges that we face in Jerusalem today are the challenges that the state of Israel in 30 years, 20 years is going to face, give or take. Okay, the numbers are never exact, things can change. And so Jerusalem is not just the capital city of the state of Israel, it's not just the capital city of the Jewish world. This is where we became a people. Jerusalem is also the mirror of the future challenges of the state of Israel, which
really
means...
scares me.
Yes, no. See it as an opportunity. The opportunity is this. We're the laboratory for the solution. And the laboratory for a solution means how we deal with our human capital, our minorities, how we bring opportunity, how we even the playing field for everybody in the city are the models that the state of Israel is going to use in 10, 20 years. And that's why it's important to invest in Jerusalem.
But where do you see the city? I mean, do you see it as a city that everybody can go on the Temple Mount and pray? Is it a city where, whether you're Arab or Ethiopian or ultra-Orthodox, that you can put food on the table? Is it a Hebrew-speaking city? Is it this mishmash of everything?
It's the most complicated city in the world. So ultimately, what are we doing by developing the economy of Jerusalem? What are we doing by training minorities here into the high-tech world? What are we doing? We're creating a livable and lovable city. Okay, Jerusalem is a special city. Beauty hits you in the face wherever you look, really. It's incredible. You have the past, the present, and the future in this city. You know, the past is a testament to our people and our suffering, but also our triumph. That is incredible. That is something that we can seek that up wherever you go. It is the seat of our people. Why did King David choose Jerusalem as the capital of his kingdom? You know, King David was from the tribe of Judah.
Right.
Where's Judah? Hebron.
Yeah.
Why wasn't the capital city of the Jewish people, of the Hebrews, in Hebron? Because it didn't belong to any tribe.
Oh, right, because it was
between the land.
Right.
So King
and
David,
the Temple Mount is cut between like two or three different tribes, right?
So King David chose Jerusalem
as a neutral
place where every tribe could feel at home, and could come and to the Temple Mount, and nobody would feel they were in anybody else's turf. Now Jerusalem, that's our DNA.
Right.
Our DNA is that of diversity. Our DNA is that of inclusion. And what our challenge today is that everybody sees themselves in Jerusalem. Every single Jew in the world sees themselves in Jerusalem. Every single Jew sees Jerusalem as their home. I'm a pluralist. I believe everybody has a place in this world. I believe everybody has a place in the Jewish world. And Jerusalem has to be an expression of that, and not an expression of, exclusivity, an expression of inclusivity. That's not easy.
So, one of the things that I feel that's most interesting is that people fail to see and understand the paradigm shift that the Abraham Accords kind of created in this region. And I think it's something that's also very underestimated in terms of the accomplishment by both President Trump and Netanyahu to have kind of envisioned this reality that I think everybody knew we could have. What's the biggest change that you've experienced so far?
It's changed everything. I mean, really everything has changed. And I think the most important change is it's given us permission and a framework to be cousins again with the Muslims.
Yeah.
We're cousins.
I mean, simply,
We're cousins. We come from the house of Abraham.
Yeah.
We are both products of the house of Abraham. And somehow politics and possibly religion, or at least the politicizing of religion has kind of sent us
What do you think
as enemies, and that's not our original destiny.
Yeah.
And so this, I think what was achieved by the leaders, Netanyahu, who believed in peace through strength and not land for peace, peace for peace, and put Israel in the very place of strength that we could even be talking like this. Trump and his advisors, Jared Kushner, who just thought out of the box and didn't accept conventional wisdom as the blueprint for what should be going on. They've changed everything. They've really changed everything. But the most significant thing is that it's changed our relationship with the Arab world and the Muslims. There's no longer an Arab-Israeli conflict. Think about that. When we were growing up, it was all about the Arab-Israeli conflict. It's all Arab-Israeli conflict. So the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. There may be an Iranian-Israeli conflict.
Right.
There may be an Iranian-Saudi conflict. There's no Arab-Israeli conflict. That's been eliminated.
So you're saying the greater Arab-Israeli conflict is over because of the Abraham Accords?
Yes. It's written the blueprint of the new Middle East and what peace should actually look like for it to be warm and sustainable.
So how important is the business relationship between the countries that are involved? Because you started what's called the UAE
Israel Business Council. And I also co-founded the
Women's
Gulf
Circle.
Israel Women's Forum.
Right, and that's the first one of its kind, if
Yes.
anything. I mean, they did a
They're
whole thing on
both the
CNN.
first of its kind. Yeah.
I hear about the Business Council all the time.
Yeah.
It's being covered on the news quite
Yes.
often.
Because we were really the pioneers of this.
Right.
And so we went out there before anybody else.
So don't you think, though, this is the best example of the new Middle East, what you've created with that? I mean,
Yes.
because that's
But I tell you
how
what,
peace
it's
is
an
made.
experience
Right.
of people to people. What the Business Council was aimed to do was not just leave the peace at the stage of the leaders, which is what happened with Egypt and Jordan. So we understood, and of course it's because the Emiratis were as excited as we were, which was my biggest surprise. How
Why was that your biggest surprise?
the biggest surprise, the most pleasant surprise is how much they wanted it as much as we did. And so the peer-to-peer, the people-to-people is the only guarantee of a sustainable warm peace. And these civil society organizations, these business councils, like the ones that we've created, we were the first ones, are the guarantee of that. Business is a way that people can get to know each other. Business is a way that people can trust each other and understand cultural sensitivities and, create a win-win. And that's what we did with the Business Council. Of course, everything I do, as a politician, I'm always thinking about the role of women. I think there's unfortunately too many women who get to, leadership roles and they forget that they're representing women as well as representing a constituency. I represent a constituency, but I also represent women. I'm very proud of that. I don't forget that. Women should be 50% of decision makers in the world, in our country, in our city. And until they are, I'm not going to rest. Because we live in an unbalanced world because women are not making 50% of the decisions.
How realistic is that in the next 10 years to see the Knesset?
25-30% of the Knesset right now. 9 ministers right now.
What do you think has made the major shift happen? Because we haven't had a female prime minister since Golda. There's never been a female head of the Jewish agency, KKL, Karen Ayasod.
That's right.
None of the major
National
institutions have been run by women, and I think the most interesting thing is that we place such an important role in Jewish culture on the role of the mother educating the children and creating the home. And when you think about kind of the problems that internally the Jewish people are facing, it's like, can somebody make me my matzo ball soup, please?
So I think that women are very good at building consensus. Women are very good at building bridges, at peacemaking, at empathizing. We're different. I don't want to be like a man.
Right.
I'm a woman. I'm very proud of being a woman. I'm very proud of the characteristics that make me a woman. And I believe that for balanced leadership, you need both. I don't think women are better than men or men are better than women. I believe that we're equal but different. And therefore in leadership, We need those two voices. This was the first organization, one of the first organizations in the history of the world that allowed women to vote. In the World Zionist Congress.
That's right. That was a big thing for
women voted.
That's right.
You don't understand.
That's right.
Nobody in the world gave women the vote. In Switzerland, for God's sake, women only got the vote in the 70s. And we, the Zionist organization, gave women the vote 80 years before Switzerland. You understand what that means? And that is something that somehow has gotten forgotten on this way. And yes, there are many ways that Israel has to improve in terms of women's rights and women's opportunities, all of that. But let's not forget that our roots are egalitarian for men and women. And that is something that I like telling the story. I am standing on the shoulders of these giant women who created these institutions, who created the right of women to be the leaders of the founding of the state of Israel.
So if there's one thing that you'd love for young women to learn about your experience, rising up through their ranks, so to speak, what would you want them to take from it? Or really, I guess you could say, what would you like young women today to take from Zionism?
You can do whatever you want. Don't let anybody convince you that because you're a woman, you somehow can't do this or can't do that. You can do whatever you want. It's just a question of deciding that you want to do it and going for it. Is it going to be harder for you? Absolutely. Can you do it? Absolutely. Will it make you stronger? The adversity of getting there, it will make you stronger and better and more powerful.
Final question. I'm a young guy, young girl getting ready for their bar mitzvah. In one sentence, I'd like you to try to sum up the most important thing that you could teach me, that you've learned in your career and in your life.
The most important thing is that when you're proud and respect who you are as a people, people respect you more. Not for 1 second think that when you berate your own people or you stand with the detractors of your own people, that somehow you're going to be more accepted and liked. The opposite. You stand up for yourself, you know who you are, you're proud of who you are, people respect you way more. Never forget that.
L'chaim to that.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. I'm Adam Scott Bellos. This is Wine with Adam. We're drinking the Gush Etzion rosé. I'm here with my special guest, Fleur, Hassan-Nahoum, Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Thank you so much for your time. It's always so much fun to see you. So
thank you.
It's like hanging out with.
Thank you for having me and giving me wine.
It's a pleasure.